All right, turning now to redistricting. Wait, don't zone out. This is important stuff. This week in Lansing, now don't do that to me, Nolan. Democrats vowed to reintroduce legislation for a citizen-led redistricting commission. Now, usually the political boundary lines for our elected representatives are drawn by the party in power after the census every 10 years, which leads to grumbling by the party not in power that the lines were drawn to favor the party that is in power. But a recent Supreme Court ruling said a citizen commission is a valid model, and even if this change isn't done to the state statute, this question could come to a ballot near you. So this is actually very important stuff. Stephen, I'm going to start with you.
Nolan,
I'm going to give you time to formulate a response. I'm going to start with you. This week in Lansing, they're starting to say, you know what, maybe this is something that we should be doing here in Michigan. The push is on.
I tell people all the time that you got to pay really close attention to stuff like this. People always complain about Lansing, whether they are Democrats or Republicans. People are frustrated with the inability to get stuff done. They feel like the people there are somewhat out of touch with what people in the state want. This is one of the reasons that we allow elected representatives to choose the people they represent, as opposed to the people choosing their representatives. When you let them draw the maps, they draw it in a way that it's going to advantage them, and the people's concerns get pushed to the side. I think Arizona is a really great example of how this can work differently. They've done this now. This was the state whose case ended up at the Supreme Court. They've done this now for a while, and there's a really nice balance in the congressional representatives from that state that represents the mix of political views in that state. Of course, it was the legislature who got upset. The Republican legislature got upset because they lost some seats in this process. They want to draw the lines themselves. There's no question that the intent, and also here in Michigan, the intent of our Constitution is that we should be able to do this. It was the courts that took it away from us. So I don't think there's much question about whether we should do it. It's about how to set up the commission to figure out how to do it a little more in a little more balanced way.
Nolan.
Well, I think I'd wonder if in 2020, if the Democrats are back in power, if they'll be so eger to see this legislation.
I think that shouldn't matter. It's
well,
not about which. It shouldn't be either party.
We'll see what happens to this legislation if in 2018 the Democrats take back control of Lansing. But I think the problem here is how do you form a commission that is any less partisan or any less biased than the legislature might be. If you make these elected commissioners, then you've got special interest, unions, chamber, whatever, trying to control the process, because it will be like state school board elections, or where you don't really know who the candidates are, and so it gives the special interest groups tremendous influence. I think forming an unbiased commission is a very challenging task, and I'd have to see how they intend to put the commission together.
Well, again,
yeah, but isn't
Arizona's
it good
doing it. Arizona's doing it.
That the conversation is starting right now, and that we're not ignoring the conversation, but we've got time to be able to come up with something.
Well, sure. I mean, there's something wrong with this argument that, okay, the system we have is biased, so the only better system is a, quote, unbiased system. I mean, you can remove significant bias from the system by improving the process, and I don't think we should make the perfect the enemy of the good.
So what would that look like? What do they do in Arizona?
So in Arizona, both parties have 2 appointments, I think, to the commission, and then the third appointment is done independently. And what it's done, so what that does, you got to have 3 votes to get any map approved. So you can't have one party dominate the process.
What's the independent vote?
I'm not sure how they're doing that.
To me, that's the devil in terms
well,
of
it would have to be someone who hasn't held public office,
difficult.
someone who's not a lobbyist, someone, I mean, well then, there you go.
I mean, somebody like CRC, I mean, we have independent government-minded, government reform institutions in the state that would be pretty decent at picking somebody to draw these maps or to help draw these maps. And then I'm not sure of the exact details of how they're doing it in Arizona. I think it is a 5-member commission, though. The issue is that's better than having the legislature just nakedly go in and draw partisan lines. I mean, that's what we're doing here. There's no question that anything would be better than that.
Well, it doesn't seem that there's any traction right now in Lansing from the Republicans to even get on board with anything like this. Do you think there would be enough I guess, will in Lansing, though, Nolan, to come up with some kind of ballot initiative to get this on the ballot?
Well, you know, if somebody can come up with the money to fund a ballot initiative, I would expect it to be on there. I wouldn't expect the Republicans, just like I wouldn't expect the Democrats if they were in power, to voluntarily cede their authority. That doesn't happen in politics. You'd have to have a civic-minded group raise a ton of money for a ballot initiative. Might not take a whole lot. I mean, I think this would be one where people might read it and say, yeah, I'm all in favor of that. But any kind of ballot initiative is going to cost a few $1 million.
All right.